The internet is in absolute shock tonight as whispers turn into headlines and headlines turn into heartbreak. Yandy Smith, the woman who once stood by Mendeecees through prison, rumors, and public scrutiny, has reportedly filed for divorce, and it all spiraled right after Tamar Braxton's explosive courtroom showdown with Mendeecees. The moment Tamar walked out of that courthouse with tears in her eyes and her team surrounding her, fans knew something wasn't right. But no one expected the chaos that would follow. Inside sources claimed that Yandy, who had already been under pressure after months of emotional distance from her husband, finally snapped when she learned what really happened behind closed doors that day. Cameras may not have caught it all, but witnesses say the tension was thick enough to cut through. Tamar's outburst wasn't just about legal matters, it was personal. She allegedly confronted Mendeecees about a private conversation that Yandy never knew about. When that confrontation went viral, the internet lit up with speculation. Fans flooded the comments, asking how deep the connection between Tamar and Mendeecees really went. "It's giving betrayal," one fan wrote, while another said, "Yandy deserves better if this is true." The speculation didn't stop there. Within hours, bloggers were dissecting every frame of footage. From the look in Mendeecees' eyes to the subtle shift in Yandy's tone during her last live stream. Then came the breaking point. Late last night, Yandy's close friend posted a cryptic message on her story. "Sometimes love just isn't enough when loyalty's gone." Minutes later, reports confirmed what no one saw coming: Yandy had filed for divorce. Fans are now connecting the dots between Tamar's court drama and Yandy's emotional silence over the past few weeks. In one resurfaced clip, Yandy is seen speaking carefully about protecting her peace, while Mendeecees, looking visibly uncomfortable, avoids eye contact. That clip has since racked up millions of views, with viewers claiming they should have known it was coming. Behind the scenes, sources close to the family reveal the mood has been tense and unpredictable. Mendeecees has reportedly been reaching out, trying to do damage control, while Yandy has been leaning on her inner circle for strength. The situation has left their family divided, with some blaming Tamar for stirring unnecessary drama and others accusing Mendeecees of crossing boundaries he shouldn't have. Fans are demanding answers. Was Tamar really involved? Or was this the final straw in a marriage that had been breaking for months? The truth may be more complicated than anyone imagines. One thing's for sure. This is no ordinary love and hip-hop storyline, it's real emotion, real heartbreak, and a scandal that's about to unravel in ways no one saw coming. Yandy had always been the calm in the storm, the one who held everything together no matter how loud the chaos became. But lately, even she couldn't silence the noise that followed her home. The morning after Tamar's courtroom explosion, the world woke up to a frenzy of headlines, each one more shocking than the last. The footage showed Tamar's voice trembling as she shouted something at Mendeecees while cameras flashed and guards tried to escort her out. The words weren't clear, but lip readers claimed, she said, "You lied to her again." That single phrase spread across the internet like wildfire. For years, fans had admired how Yandy stood by her man through every scandal, but this time felt different. It wasn't just another rumor, it was humiliation unfolding in real time. That morning, Yandy sat in her kitchen, staring at her phone as notification after notification lit up the screen. Her sister called, her publicist texted, and her mother's number flashed again and again. She didn't answer any of them. The coffee on the table had gone cold, untouched since dawn. Outside, paparazzi were already parked across the street, waiting for the first glimpse of her reaction. She finally unlocked her phone and opened Instagram. Her feed was flooded with clips of Tamar crying, of Mendeecees looking stone-faced beside his lawyer, of fans demanding answers. She could feel her throat tighten. The world wasn't asking questions, they were drawing conclusions. When Mendeecees walked in, wearing the same clothes he had on at court, the air shifted. He paused when he saw her, his voice low and hesitant. "Yandy, listen. Before you say anything." She didn't look up. "Don't," she said, her tone flat. "Not now." But he kept talking, explaining how things got out of hand and Tamar twisted everything. He insisted nothing inappropriate had happened, that whatever Tamar said was taken out of context. Still, Yandy couldn't ignore the look on his face, the look of a man who knew he'd lost control of the story. "Context doesn't change truth," she whispered, finally meeting his eyes. Why would she say that if there wasn't something behind it? He sighed, pacing the floor. "Because she's hurt. Because she wanted to embarrass me. That's all this is." But the explanation didn't sit right. By noon, Yandy's phone buzzed with a message from one of her closest friends. A clip from a backstage conversation between Tamar and her assistant, recorded weeks earlier. In it, Tamar could be heard saying, "I told him I don't do secrets. If he won't tell her, I will." The assistant's voice responded nervously, "You're playing with fire, Tay." And Tamar had replied, "Then let it burn." Yandy replayed the audio until the words started to echo in her head. Let it burn. Those 3 words felt like gasoline poured over her marriage. Hours later, Mendeecees sat across from her again, trying to defend himself. But the more he spoke, the more detached she became. "I've given you every chance to be honest," she said quietly, "but I can't keep protecting what's already broken." Her voice didn't rise, but the steadiness in it frightened him. He leaned forward, pleading, "Baby, don't let the internet tell you who I am. You know me better than anyone." She shook her head. "Maybe that's the problem. I thought I did." For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Outside, cameras clicked as a delivery truck blocked the driveway, reporters shouting questions they'd never get answers to. Later that evening, when Mendeecees left to clear his head, Yandy sat in the living room surrounded by old photo albums. There they were, smiling at family picnics, holding their kids at birthdays, hand in hand at premieres. She ran her fingers across one picture where Mendeecees kissed her cheek while she laughed. It didn't even look like them anymore. Her phone buzzed again. Another friend had sent her screenshots of private messages between Tamar and Mendeecees. Most of it was casual jokes, updates, nothing explicit, but one line stood out. Mendeecees had written, "You always understand me when she doesn't." Yandy's breath caught. The message wasn't romantic, but it was intimate enough to cut deep. By midnight, she called her lawyer. She didn't say much, just asked what the first step would be if she wanted to make it official. The lawyer hesitated, asking if she was certain. "I'm sure," Yandy said. "I've been sure for a long time. I just didn't want to face it." When she hung up, her hands were trembling, not from anger but from exhaustion. For years, she had built her life around forgiveness, convincing herself that loyalty could fix what honesty broke. But now, that illusion had shattered. The next morning, social media erupted again. A witness claimed they saw Yandy leaving a downtown law office. Others said she looked calm but distant. Her fans flooded the comments with messages of support. "You deserve peace," one wrote. "You've carried too much for too long." In contrast, Mendeecees' comment section turned hostile, filled with accusations and disappointment. People demanded he go live to clear his name, but he stayed silent. That silence only fueled the rumors. Behind closed doors, Yandy's family gathered at her house. Her mother prayed over her while her sister argued with one of Mendeecees' cousins at the door. "He did this to himself," her sister shouted. "Don't come in here acting like she's overreacting." The cousin fired back, "You don't even know the full story." The tension rose until Yandy stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "Stop," she said. "This isn't about taking sides, it's about ending what's hurting everyone." Her mother looked at her tearfully. "Baby, are you sure you're ready for that?" Yandy nodded. "I have to be." Meanwhile, Tamar's team tried to distance her from the scandal. Her publicist released a statement saying, "Tamar Braxton has no involvement in the personal affairs of Mendeecees and Yandy Smith," but fans weren't buying it. Blogs picked apart every photo, every quote, every event where Tamar and Mendeecees had been spotted in the same room. The story had grown too big to contain. Interviews were requested, networks called, and producers quietly discussed whether this drama could change the dynamic of future seasons. Some insiders even hinted that cameras might have been rolling the whole time, capturing the breakdown of a marriage in real time. In the middle of it all, Yandy sat with her children, trying to shield them from the noise. She told them nothing had to change right now, that asked, "Are you still mad at him?" Her voice broke slightly as she answered, "No, baby, I'm just tired." Later, when the kids were asleep, she stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights. Below, the hum of traffic mixed with distant sirens, a familiar lullaby for nights she wished would end differently. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Mendeecees. "Can we talk? No cameras, no drama, just us." She didn't respond right away. She watched the message fade into the dark screen before setting the phone face down. Hours passed before she finally typed a single word: "Tomorrow." The next day, when Mendeecees arrived, he looked worn out. The tension between them felt heavy, but he tried to smile. "You look tired," he said. "So do you," she replied. They sat across from each other, the silence stretching longer than their words ever could. "I know I messed up," he began, his voice trembling slightly. Not in the way they think, but I let things get too close. I shouldn't have let her in like that. Yandy crossed her arms. You mean Tamar? He nodded slowly. It wasn't what people think. She was just someone I could talk to when things got hard between us. Yandy shook her head. You found comfort in someone who wasn't your wife. It doesn't have to be physical to be betrayal. He leaned forward, his eyes glossy. You're right, I was wrong. I just didn't know how to fix what was broken between us. She looked at him quietly. You could have started by telling the truth. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Outside, reporters were still camped out, waiting for any hint of reconciliation or confirmation of the split. Inside, two people who had once promised forever sat in silence, realizing that forever might have already passed. And that's where everything began to unravel faster than anyone expected. Yandy had always been the calm in the storm, the one who held everything together no matter how loud the chaos became. But lately, even she couldn't silence the noise that followed her home. The morning after Tamar's courtroom explosion, the world woke up to a frenzy of headlines, each one more shocking than the last. The footage showed Tamar's voice trembling as she shouted something at Mendeecees, while cameras flashed and guards tried to escort her out. The words weren't clear, but lip readers claimed, she said, "You lied to her again." That single phrase spread across the internet like wildfire. For years, fans had admired how Yandy stood by her man through every scandal, but this time felt different. It wasn't just another rumor, it was humiliation unfolding in real time. That morning, Yandy sat in her kitchen, staring at her phone as notification after notification lit up the screen. Her sister called, her publicist texted, and her mother's number flashed again and again. She didn't answer any of them. The coffee on the table had gone cold, untouched since dawn. Outside, paparazzi were already parked across the street, waiting for the first glimpse of her reaction. She finally unlocked her phone and opened Instagram. Her feed was flooded with clips of Tamar crying, of Mendeecees looking stone-faced beside his lawyer, of fans demanding answers. She could feel her throat tighten. The world wasn't asking questions, they were drawing conclusions. When Mendeecees walked in, wearing the same clothes he had on at court, the air shifted. He paused when he saw her, his voice low and hesitant. Yandy, listen, before you say anything. She didn't look up. Don't, she said, her tone flat. Not now. But he kept talking, explaining how things got out of hand, and Tamar twisted everything. He insisted nothing inappropriate had happened, that whatever Tamar said was taken out of context. Still, Yandy couldn't ignore the look on his face, the look of a man who knew he'd lost control of the story. Context doesn't change truth, she whispered, finally meeting his eyes. Why would she say that if there wasn't something behind it? He sighed, pacing the floor. Because she's hurt. Because she wanted to embarrass me. That's all this is. But the explanation didn't sit right. By noon, Yandy's phone buzzed with a message from one of her closest friends, a clip from a backstage conversation between Tamar and her assistant recorded weeks earlier. In it, Tamar could be heard saying, "I told him I don't do secrets. If you won't tell her, I will." The assistant's voice responded nervously, "You're playing with fire, Tay." And Tamar had replied, "Then let it burn." Yandy replayed the audio until the words started to echo in her head. Let it burn. Those 3 words felt like gasoline poured over her marriage. Hours later, Mendeecees sat across from her again, trying to defend himself. But the more he spoke, the more detached she became. "I've given you every chance to be honest," she said quietly, "but I can't keep protecting what's already broken." Her voice didn't rise, but the steadiness in it frightened him. He leaned forward, pleading, "Baby, don't let the internet tell you who I am. You know me better than anyone." She shook her head. "Maybe that's the problem. I thought I did." For a moment, the silence was unbearable. Outside, cameras clicked as a delivery truck blocked the driveway, reporters shouting questions they'd never get answers to. Later that evening, when Mendeecees left to clear his head, Yandy sat in the living room, surrounded by old photo albums. There they were, smiling at family picnics, holding their kids at birthdays, hand in hand at premieres. She ran her fingers across one picture where Mendeecees kissed her cheek while she laughed. It didn't even look like them anymore. Her phone buzzed again. Another friend had sent her screenshots of private messages between Tamar and Mendeecees. Most of it was casual jokes, updates, nothing explicit, but one line stood out. Mendeecees had written, "You always understand me when she doesn't." Yandy's breath caught. The message wasn't romantic, but it was intimate enough to cut deep. By midnight, she called her lawyer, She didn't say much, just asked what the first step would be if she wanted to make it official. The lawyer hesitated, asking if she was certain. "I'm sure," Yandy said. "I've been sure for a long time. I just didn't want to face it." When she hung up, her hands were trembling, not from anger but from exhaustion. For years, she had built her life around forgiveness, convincing herself that loyalty could fix what honesty broke. But now, that illusion had shattered. The next morning, social media erupted again. A witness claimed they saw Yandy leaving a downtown law office. Others said she looked calm but distant. Her fans flooded the comments with messages of support. "You deserve peace," one wrote. "You've carried too much for too long." In contrast, Mendeecees' comment section turned hostile, filled with accusations and disappointment. People demanded he go live to clear his name, but he stayed silent. That silence only fueled the rumors. Behind closed doors, Yandy's family gathered at her house. Her mother prayed over her while her sister argued with one of Mendeecees' cousins at the door. "He did this to himself," her sister shouted. "Don't come in here acting like she's overreacting." The cousin fired back. "You don't even know the full story." The tension rose until Yandy stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "Stop," she said. "This isn't about taking sides. It's about ending what's hurting everyone." Her mother looked at her tearfully. "Baby, are you sure you're ready for that?" Yandy nodded. "I have to be." Meanwhile, Tamar's team tried to distance her from the scandal. Her publicist released a statement saying, "Tamar Braxton has no involvement in the personal affairs of Mendeecees and Yandy Smith." But fans weren't buying it. Blogs picked apart every photo, every quote, every event where Tamar and Mendeecees had been spotted in the same room. The story had grown too big to contain. Interviews were requested, networks called, and producers quietly discussed whether this drama could change the dynamic of future seasons. Some insiders even hinted that cameras might have been rolling the whole time, capturing the breakdown of a marriage in real time. In the middle of it all, Yandy sat with her children, trying to shield them from the noise. She told them nothing had to change right now, that their father still loved them, that adults sometimes needed space to think. But when her son asked, "Are you still mad at him?" her voice broke slightly as she answered, "No, baby, I'm just tired." Later, when the kids were asleep, she stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights. Below, the hum of traffic mixed with distant sirens, a familiar lullaby for nights she wished would end differently. Her phone buzzed again, this time a message from Mendeecees. "Can we talk? No cameras, no drama. Just us." She didn't respond right away. She watched the message fade into the dark screen before setting the phone face down. Hours passed before she finally typed a single word. "Tomorrow." The next day, when Mendeecees arrived, he looked worn out. The tension between them felt heavy, but he tried to smile. "You look tired," he said. "So do you," she replied. They sat across from each other, the silence stretching longer than their words ever could. "I know I messed up," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "Not in the way they think, but I let things get too close. I shouldn't have let her in like that." Yandy crossed her arms. "You mean Tamar?" He nodded slowly. "It wasn't what people think. She was just someone I could talk to when things got hard between us." Yandy shook her head. "You found comfort in someone who wasn't your wife. It doesn't have to be physical to be betrayal." He leaned forward, his eyes glossy. "You're right. I was wrong. I just didn't know how to fix what was broken between us." She looked at him quietly. "You could have started by telling the truth." For a long time, neither of them spoke. Outside, reporters were still camped out, waiting for any hint of reconciliation or confirmation of the split. Inside, two people who had once promised forever sat in silence, realizing that forever might have already passed. And that's where everything began to unravel faster than anyone expected. After that tense conversation, the walls of their home felt colder, as if the echoes of their silence had soaked into the walls. Yandy didn't cry that night. She had done enough of that over the years. Instead, she lay awake staring at the ceiling, hearing every word he said replay in her head, mixing with every lie she had ever forgiven. By morning, she was numb. Mendeecees had left early, leaving a short note on the counter that said, "I'll be at the studio. Call me if you want to talk." She didn't call. The note sat beside an untouched cup of coffee until the housekeeper quietly removed it. The world outside kept spinning, but inside that house, time had stopped. Meanwhile, the blogs were merciless. One outlet claimed to have exclusive footage from a private event weeks before the court drama, showing Tamar laughing beside Mendeecees while Yandy looked visibly distant. Another page suggested that the two had been exchanging flirty energy since the beginning of the year. Fans went into overdrive, flooding every post with theories. "I knew he was acting off," One comment read, "You can always tell when a man's attention shifts." Others tried to defend him, insisting the media was twisting the story for views. Still, the narrative was out of control. Yandy couldn't open her phone without seeing her name dragged through endless speculation. By mid-afternoon, she decided to step out. Her manager had arranged a meeting with producers who wanted to address the storyline before it completely destroyed her public image. Sitting in that office, surrounded by people who spoke in calm, rehearsed tones about narratives and damage control, Yandy realized just how disconnected her life had become from reality. One producer leaned forward and said, "We can spin this. We make you the strong woman who finally chooses herself. That's empowerment." She looked at him blankly and said, "This isn't a storyline. This is my life." The room fell silent. They didn't know how to respond. When she got home, her phone rang again. It was Tamar. The name flashing on the screen made her chest tighten. For a long moment, she just stared at it, her thumb hovering over the decline button. But something inside her said answer. When she finally did, Tamar's voice came through soft but tense. "Yandy, I know this is the last thing you want, but I needed to say something." Yandy's tone stayed steady. "You already said plenty in court." Tamar sighed. "That wasn't supposed to happen like that. I was emotional. I was angry, and things came out the wrong way." "So it wasn't true?" Yandy asked, her voice calm but sharp. There was a long pause. "Not everything was a lie," Tamar admitted, "but it wasn't what people think. He confided in me. Yeah, but I never crossed a line. I swear." Yandy listened without interrupting, but her silence carried weight. "Then why did you say it in front of cameras?" she finally asked. Tamar hesitated. "Because he made me feel like I didn't matter, like I was disposable, and I wanted him to feel something. I didn't think it would blow up like this." Yandy closed her eyes, gripping the edge of the counter. "So you used my marriage to make a point?" Tamar's voice cracked. "I'm sorry, Yandy. I really am. I didn't mean for it to go this far." Yandy didn't respond right away. When she did, her words were cold but controlled. "Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't unmake humiliation." She hung up before Tamar could say another word. For the next few days, the atmosphere only grew heavier. Mendeecees kept trying to call, leaving voicemails about wanting to fix it, but Yandy ignored them all. She needed space. She needed quiet. But quiet never lasted long when you lived under the public eye. The story took on a life of its own. YouTube channels released dramatic breakdowns with titles like "Yandy and Mendeecees' Marriage Done for Good" and "Tamar Braxton Exposes Secret Affair." Every thumbnail showed Yandy's face mid-expression, frozen in pain or anger. She hated that people were profiting off her heartbreak, but there was nothing she could do to stop it. One night, her friend Kimbella came over unannounced, holding a bottle of wine and a worried look. "Girl, you've got to get out of this house," she said. "You're gonna drown in your own thoughts." Yandy managed a faint smile. "I just need to figure out what peace looks like now." Kimbella shook her head. "Peace doesn't wait for you. You have to claim it." They sat on the couch for hours, talking about old times, about love, about how fame changes the people closest to you. At one point, Kimbella asked, "Do you think you'll ever forgive him?" Yandy didn't answer immediately. She stared at her reflection in the glass door and whispered, "Forgiveness isn't the problem. Forgetting is." The next morning brought another storm. A leaked audio surfaced online. Mendeecees' voice, frustrated, arguing with someone over the phone. Fans speculated it was Tamar. The clip was incomplete, but one line was clear. "I told you to stop bringing her name into this." That was enough to reignite the fire. Within hours, gossip sites framed it as proof of deeper secrets. Yandy's team begged her not to respond publicly, but the damage was done. Even those who had supported her began questioning the full story. Was there more to this than she was letting on? Was there something she wasn't saying? That night, Yandy finally called Mendeecees. "We need to talk," she said simply. They met at a quiet cafe far from the city center, where no cameras waited. He looked drained, his eyes dark from sleepless nights. "I don't even know where to start," he said. "Maybe start with the truth," she replied. He sighed deeply. "There's no affair, Yandy. I swear on my life. Tamar came to me about her own legal stuff, and we got close talking about it. I shouldn't have let her lean on me, but it wasn't romantic." Yandy tilted her head. "You told her things about us." He nodded reluctantly. "Yeah, I did. I just needed someone to listen. I didn't think she'd use it against me." She looked away. "You shared pieces of our life with a woman who didn't owe me loyalty. How do you expect me to feel?" He reached across the table, but she pulled her hand back. "I love you," he said softly. "But love doesn't fix this," she replied. "It never does." When she stood up to leave, he followed her outside, desperation in his voice. Please, don't let this be the end. She turned to face him. It's been ending for a long time. We just kept pretending it wasn't. As she walked away, cameras finally caught sight of them together, snapping photos that would later appear online under captions like "Final Goodbye." And Yandy walks out on Mendeecees. Her expression in those photos, strong but tired, would soon become the image of a woman choosing herself after years of sacrifice. Back home, she sat in silence again. Her kids were asleep, the house dim and still. She opened her laptop and began typing something she'd been avoiding for days. The official request to file for divorce. Her hands didn't shake this time. It wasn't rage driving her anymore, it was clarity, the kind that comes only after every tear has dried and every excuse has lost its meaning. When she clicked send, a strange calm washed over her. She whispered to herself, "It's time." But even as she tried to move forward, the world refused to let go. Rumors grew darker, fans split into sides, and whispers began that Tamar might go public with her side of the story. And deep down, Yandy knew this storm was far from over. The following morning brought the calm before another wave of chaos. Yandy's phone buzzed non-stop with calls from journalists, producers, and even old acquaintances pretending to check on her while fishing for details. She ignored every one of them. The decision had been made. She had filed the paperwork, and whether Mendeecees accepted it or not, there was no turning back. The silence in her home felt heavier than ever, but it was her silence now. No more shouting, no more waiting, no more hoping for someone else to choose peace for her. Still, peace never came easy. Outside her house, the press had grown restless. Camera crews had turned the street into a circus. Drones hovered overhead, trying to capture any glimpse of her stepping outside. Even her neighbors began to complain about the constant noise. Yandy stood behind the curtains, watching them, shaking her head in disbelief. Her kids were at school, unaware of how their parents' heartbreak had become public property. When she turned away from the window, her mother was standing in the doorway, her face filled with quiet concern. "Baby, are you sure this is what you want?" she asked. Yandy nodded. For the first time in years, yes. Her mother sighed. "Then hold on to that. People are going to talk no matter what." Later that afternoon, Mendeecees showed up unannounced. He didn't knock this time, he called from outside. "Please just let me in," he said through the speaker. 5 minutes. "That's all I'm asking." Yandy hesitated before unlocking the door. He stepped inside slowly, looking around like he was walking through a memory. "You changed the living room," he said softly, noticing the rearranged furniture. "Yeah," she replied. "Needed something new." His eyes were tired, his shoulders slumped under the weight of too many apologies. "Yandy, listen. I don't care what the world says. I just need you to know, I never stopped loving you." She stayed quiet, her expression unreadable. "You love me," she finally said, "but you stopped protecting me. There's a difference." His voice cracked. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Intent doesn't erase pain," she answered. He rubbed his hands together nervously. "You're really doing this?" "Huh." She nodded. "I already did." His jaw tightened. "So that's it?" She shrugged slightly. "That's it." For a long moment, they just stood there, the silence between them more final than any signature on paper. Then he said something that caught her off guard. "You'll regret it when the world moves on and you realize I was the only one who stayed." She looked him straight in the eyes. "You didn't stay? You lingered. There's a difference between presence and partnership." He looked like he wanted to argue, but instead, he sighed and walked out. The sound of the door closing felt like the end of a decade, but the universe wasn't done with her yet. Within hours, gossip pages lit up again. Someone from the courthouse had leaked the divorce filing. Her name was plastered across headlines in bold, heartless letters. Yandy Smith officially files for divorce. Love and hip-hop couple finally splits. Sources say Tamar's breakdown triggered the end. She didn't cry when she saw them. Instead, she opened her laptop and began drafting her own statement. She wasn't going to let tabloids control the narrative anymore. When she posted it later that evening, her words were calm but powerful. "Sometimes love demands you walk away. Not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring about yourself." Within minutes, the post exploded. Thousands of comments poured in. Fans called her brave, resilient, and inspirational. Others begged her to reconsider, writing messages like, "Fight for your family, Yandy." But the majority stood by her. Even a few celebrities chimed in, offering support. Kimbella commented, "I'm proud of you, sis." The post became a statement of strength, shared across every platform. Mendeecees, however, wasn't silent for long. That night, he went live on Instagram. Over 100,000 people tuned in as he sat in his studio, visibly emotional. "I know y'all seen what's out there," he began. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I didn't mess up. But some of y'all don't understand what really happened. He rubbed his temples, struggling to keep his composure. It wasn't an affair. It was bad judgment. Tamar was going through a lot, and I was trying to help. That's it. I shouldn't have gotten that close. I admit that, but I never disrespected my wife. The comments section was brutal. Some fans believed him. Others accused him of gaslighting. You disrespected her the moment you made her feel replaceable, one user wrote. Another commented, emotional cheating is still cheating. Mendeecees read some of them out loud, shaking his head. Y'all can judge. That's fine, but I'm still human. Toward the end of the live, his tone softened. Yandy, if you see this, I just want you to know I love you. I always will. I hope one day you'll remember that I tried. He ended the stream abruptly, his eyes red, his voice breaking on the last word. The next morning, the internet was divided again. Fans flooded Yandy's page, urging her to respond. Instead, she stayed quiet. Silence was her answer now. She spent the day with her children, taking them to the park and avoiding her phone completely. It was the first peaceful day she'd had in months. But even then, peace had a price. That night, a message came through from Tamar's team, asking if Yandy would be willing to meet for closure. Her instinct was to delete it, but curiosity got the better of her. Maybe, she thought, there was something left to understand. 2 days later, she agreed to meet Tamar at a private lounge in the city. The air was tense from the moment they locked eyes. Tamar stood first, extending a hand. Thank you for coming, she said softly. Yandy nodded but didn't take the hand. You said you wanted closure, she replied. So talk. Tamar took a deep breath. I know you hate me, and you have every right to. I crossed a line, and I wish I could take it back. I didn't realize how deep his pain ran, or how much I was adding to yours. Yandy's face remained calm, but her eyes betrayed exhaustion. You didn't just add to my pain, she said. You broadcasted it. Tamar's voice shook. I was hurting too, Yandy. I thought I was doing the right thing exposing him, but I see now I just made a mess for everyone. Yandy leaned back in her chair. Truth doesn't hurt people. Ego does. Tamar nodded slowly. You're right. I let ego take over. For the first time, the tension between them softened. Yandy sighed. I don't hate you, Tamar. I just wish you'd thought about the damage before chasing your moment. Tamar looked down. So do I. When they parted, there were no hugs. No promises, just quiet understanding. Outside, cameras tried to catch them together, but neither woman looked back. That night, Yandy posted nothing, said nothing, did nothing but sit on her bed in the dark. For the first time, she felt light, not happy, not healed, just lighter. But she knew better than to think the storm had passed. There were still things unsaid, wounds that would take time to fade. And as the city lights flickered through her window, she knew one thing for sure, this wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the beginning of her reclamation. The following week turned the quiet aftermath into a public storm again. Every entertainment outlet ran new spins on the same headline, twisting quotes and misinterpreting glances. One platform claimed that Tamar was preparing to expose unseen messages, while another insisted that Mendeecees had been secretly visiting someone connected to the case. Yandy tried to tune it all out, but the noise seeped in through every crack of her day. She couldn't even stop for gas without someone snapping a photo. Still, she carried herself with that same steady grace that made fans love her from the beginning. When her driver picked her up for a scheduled podcast interview, something she had agreed 2 weeks before the divorce, filing she thought about canceling, but then she reminded herself she had nothing to hide. The host greeted her warmly. The camera's already rolling. Yandy, he began. The whole world is talking about you right now. How are you holding up? She smiled faintly. I'm surviving. I think that's the best word for it. The interviewer nodded. A lot of people saw you as the perfect couple. Do you think fame played a role in what went wrong? She took a slow breath before answering. Fame doesn't change love. It just exposes what was already fragile. People see the smiles and think that means everything's fine. But behind those smiles are long nights, miscommunication, and moments where you start to forget who you were before everyone was watching. The interviewer leaned forward. So what really happened between you and Mendeecees? Yandy gave a careful half smile. What happened is simple. One person kept trying to fix everything while the other stopped noticing how much it cost. The clip went viral within hours. Fans praised her honesty, calling her real, graceful, and strong. The comments poured in by the thousands. Even people who had doubted her began to shift their opinions. Mendeecees, however, saw the interview and took it differently. That evening, he posted a series of cryptic stories, black screens with white text. It's crazy how people tell half the truth like it's the whole story. Be careful who paints themselves as the victim. The tension reignited instantly. Blogs screenshot his posts. Headlines screamed about shade thrown, and the internet picked sides once again. By the next day, their situation had evolved from personal pain to full-blown digital warfare. Someone leaked another set of screenshots messages between Mendeecees and a woman who wasn't Tamar but someone from his management team. Most of the texts were professional, but one line stood out. He'd written, "You're the only one I can really talk to lately." The message timestamp was from 2 months before the divorce filing. That one sentence spread like wildfire. Yandy saw it while scrolling through her feed in bed. She didn't react outwardly, but her chest tightened. The betrayal didn't shock her anymore. It just exhausted her. Her publicist called within minutes. "Do not respond," she warned. "Let the internet eat itself. Silence is your best weapon right now." Yandy agreed, though a part of her wanted to scream. Instead, she buried herself in work. She launched a small campaign focused on mental wellness and self-worth, using her platform to turn pain into purpose. "I'm not here to bash anyone," she said in a live stream, her tone calm and deliberate. "I'm here to remind women that love should never cost you your peace." The stream racked up millions of views. Comments poured in calling her an example of grace under fire. But grace didn't protect her from what came next. One evening, while she was preparing dinner, her sister ran in holding her phone. "You need to see this," she said. Mendeecees had just done a live interview with a well-known entertainment host. In it, he sounded defeated but defensive. "I'm tired of being made to look like the villain," he said. "I've made mistakes. Sure, but I gave that woman everything. I went to jail, came back, tried to rebuild my life, and she gave up when things got hard." The host asked if Tamar had anything to do with the breakup. He shook his head. "Tamar didn't ruin my marriage. Yandy's pride did." Those 5 words cut through every layer of restraint Yandy had built. "Pride did." She turned off the stove and walked into her room, sitting on the edge of the bed in silence. For years, she had been labeled the strong one, the loyal one, the one who stood by her man no matter what. Now she was being called prideful for finally choosing herself. She laughed bitterly, shaking her head. Later that night, she posted a short message on her page. "Funny how strength looks like pride to the people who relied on your weakness." It was short, sharp, and devastatingly effective. Within an hour, her post was trending across social media. Tamar saw it too. Despite her own attempts to step away, she couldn't resist joining the online conversation. She tweeted, "Sometimes people break things they can't fix, and sometimes people pretend they never held the hammer." The tweet had no names, but everyone knew who it was aimed at. The internet exploded once again. Fans dissected every word, creating conspiracy theories and time. It became less about truth and more about spectacle. And through it all, Yandy stayed mostly silent. Behind the scenes, however, she was unraveling in quieter ways. She couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Her children began to notice. One night, her daughter climbed into bed beside her and whispered, "Mommy, are you sad?" Yandy smiled softly and brushed the girl's hair back. "A little," she admitted. "But it's okay to be sad. It means we're still human." She spent that night holding her child, realizing that while the world dissected her pain for entertainment, she still had to wake up, pack lunches, and pretend everything was normal. A few days later, she got a call from her lawyer. "Mendeecees hasn't contested the filing," he said. "It's moving forward." The words hit harder than she expected. It was real now, official. There would be no more talking things through. No more chances to patch up what had already fallen apart. When she hung up, she went to the balcony again, watching the city lights stretch across the skyline. Somewhere out there, Mendeecees was probably scrolling through the same chaos she was. And yet, for the first time, she didn't feel anger, just release. Still, peace didn't last long. The next morning, she woke to dozens of missed calls. Someone had leaked footage from that private cafe meeting weeks earlier, their final conversation. The clip was grainy but clear enough to capture Yandy's voice, saying, "It's been ending for a long time." Fans flooded the internet with sympathy. Some said they could feel her heartbreak in her tone. Others accused Mendeecees of leaking it himself to control the narrative. He denied it immediately, but the damage was done. His reputation, once that of a redeemed family man, was now buried under suspicion. Meanwhile, producers from the network called Yandy, offering her a chance to film a special episode to tell her side. She refused. "I'm not performing my pain anymore," she told them. "Some things don't need cameras." The decision earned her even more respect from the public. People began calling her the class act, praising her maturity. But fame is fickle, and sympathy turns to curiosity quickly. By the end of the week, Rumors began that she might already be seeing someone new, a music executive she had been working with on a business project. She ignored the chatter, but the irony wasn't lost on her. After everything, the same media that crucified her for staying loyal now couldn't stand the thought of her moving on. That night, she journaled for the first time in years. Her handwriting was shaky, but her thoughts were clear. "The hardest part isn't losing love," she wrote. "It's realizing you gave pieces of yourself to someone who never knew what to do with them." She closed the notebook and whispered to herself, "This time, I'm choosing me." And though the noise outside hadn't stopped, inside, for the first time, her heart was quiet. Still, deep in that quiet, a storm was brewing, one final twist that would turn everything upside down again. Before you go, take a moment to think about everything you just witnessed. This wasn't just another celebrity breakup playing out in front of cameras. This was the collapse of something that once looked unshakable. A reminder that even love built in the spotlight can crumble under the weight of pride, pain, and pressure. What Yandy and Mendeecees went through wasn't simply a story. It was a mirror reflecting how relationships fracture when communication dies, when apologies come too late, and when two people stop choosing each other every single day. It's easy to judge from the outside, to scroll, to comment, to assume who's right or wrong. But behind every viral headline is a heartbeat. Behind every public fall is someone who once whispered promises in the dark. That's why we tell these stories, not to gossip, but to remind ourselves that no amount of fame, no amount of wealth, no perfectly filtered photo can protect the human heart from breaking. If you've ever been in love, you already know what that silence feels like when words no longer heal. You know what it's like to fight for something that keeps slipping away. Yandy stood by a man through prison time, public scrutiny, and personal loss. Mendeecees tried to rebuild his image and loss. Mendeecees tried to rebuild his image and his life while carrying the weight of past mistakes. Both of them wanted peace, but peace requires truth, and sometimes, truth hurts more than betrayal. Their story might be over, but the lessons linger. When you stay in something that drains you, you start forgetting who you were before the chaos began. Love should grow you, not exhaust you. And walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the strongest act of self-respect there is. Yandy learned that the hard way, in front of millions, with cameras rolling and strangers dissecting every tear. She turned that pain into purpose, reminding every woman watching that silence can be strength. And dignity doesn't need revenge. And for Mendeecees, maybe his chapter is one of reflection. Because somewhere in his story, there's a man realizing, too late, that loyalty doesn't last forever when it's one's. Fame may bring second chances, but character decides if you can keep them. When he said, "I gave that woman everything," he forgot that everything means more than money. More than appearances, it means honesty, effort, and accountability. Maybe now he understands that love isn't something you protect in public. It's something you nurture in private. If you've been following this from the start, you've seen every twist of tears. The tension, the missteps, and the strength. You've seen what happens when love meets ego, when forgiveness reaches its limit, and when a woman decides that her peace matters more than her image. So before you scroll to the next story, ask yourself, how many times have you stayed silent, just to keep the peace? How many times have you carried someone else's chaos because you loved them too much to walk away? If this story hit home for you, don't just feel it, learn from it. Let it remind you that endings can be beginnings in disguise. That even when something falls apart publicly, healing still happens privately. That strength isn't in how loud you clap back, but how calmly you rise when everything falls apart. Yandy did exactly that. And while the world was busy debating her choices, she was quietly reclaiming her identity. That's what makes her story powerful. Not the fame, not the show, not the headlines, but the transformation. She didn't let heartbreak turn her bitter. She let it turn her wise. And maybe that's the real reason people can't stop talking about her, not because of the drama, but because deep down, everyone recognizes a piece of themselves in her struggle. So if you're watching this and you've ever felt unseen, unheard, or undervalued, take this as your reminder. You deserve a love that shows up for you. You deserve a peace that doesn't require an explanation. You deserve to walk into the next chapter lighter, freer, and unafraid. Because somewhere beyond the pain, there's healing waiting, and sometimes that healing begins when you finally stop proving your worth to people who never saw it. This is where stories like this one matter most. Not in the noise of gossip, but in the quiet realization that we all break, we all heal, and we all start again. So to every person who's been through something similar, who's cried behind closed doors, who's been misunderstood, who's had to choose themselves even when it hurts, this one's for you. Because strength doesn't mean pretending to be okay. It means surviving, learning, and rising higher than you were before. And if you've been with us throughout this journey, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on your notifications. There are more stories coming, real, raw, human stories that pull back the curtain on the lives we think we know. Stories that remind us how fragile love can be and how powerful self-worth truly is. So keep watching, keep listening, and most of all, keep feeling. Because in every heartbreak, there's a truth worth hearing. In every downfall, there's a lesson worth learning. And in every ending, there's the quiet promise of a new beginning. Thank you for being here. Stay kind, stay grounded, and never let the world harden your heart.